diretor de desenvolvimento internacional e diretor de investigações da MUFON, a maior entidade civil de pesquisa ufológica do mundo, Steve Hudgeons, há mais de 30 anos faz parte da MUFON. Ele sozinho já investigou mais de 1.700 casos. Vem comigo nessa entrevista inédita e exclusiva para ouvir tudo o que Steve tem a dizer. Bom dia, boa tarde, boa noite, boa madrugada, aonde você estiver. Eu sou o Thiago Luiz Ticchetti. Sejam bem-vindos ao canal Desvendando Mistérios. O meu entrevistado de hoje é o diretor de desenvolvimento internacional e de investigações da MUFON. Na época que eu fiz essa entrevista, ele tinha acabado de sair da MUFON, tinha se aposentado após mais de 30 anos a serviço dessa entidade. Mas ele voltou atrás e traz pra gente informações muito relevantes de como são as pesquisas da MUFON, qual o seu pensamento sobre o fenômeno ufológico, e faz afirmações que nunca fez antes. Então, venha comigo nessa entrevista inédita e exclusiva que você só encontra aqui, sempre no canal Desvendando Mistérios. Mas antes de começarmos essa entrevista inédita e exclusiva aqui no canal Desvendando Mistérios, você que ainda não é inscrito no canal, se inscreva. E também não se esqueça de marcar o sininho, que é o lembrete. Sempre que tiver um vídeo novo, você vai ser avisado. Dê seu like também, são quase 400 vídeos no canal, vídeos exclusivos para você. E por fim, deixe a sua opinião nos comentários de cada vídeo. Eu vou responder todas as perguntas que vocês mandarem. Dito isso, vamos então para essa entrevista, que foi feita já há um bom tempo, mas ainda é muito atual, com Steve Hudgeons, diretor de investigações e de relações internacionais da MUFON. Thank you, Steve, for being here in my YouTube channel. I'm a big fan of you. You were my boss. You know that?
At one point, yes.
And it was amazing for me to learn a lot from you and from MUFON. It's my main goal in ufology to have more participation in MUFON studies and research. Well, I will start asking the same question that I ask to all my guests.
Sure,
How
go ahead.
did Steve get started in ufology?
How did I get started? Well, I've always been curious about anything and everything that was just basically not normal as a kid. And like when I say kid, I'm like 5, 6 years old, something of that nature. It's just, you don't have anything to do. And I was at my grandmother's house one day, and she subscribed to this newspaper. It was a little small one. It's called The Inquirer. And what really got me started on that, I was reading about Bigfoot and raiding the Indian tribes and taking off with people and stuff of that nature. And then it went into ghosts. And then I started reading about just anything and everything and UFOs. And I just read about that all the time. And I just became curious. And it actually got me in trouble because when I would like go to church on Sunday, you started mentioning things of this nature, and of course they don't know anything about all of this kind of thing. And I started asking, it started making me ask a lot of questions. And one of them was about the Bible. There's a lot of questions in the Bible that you can ask. And I was always getting in trouble because they never could answer my questions. And the reason it was is because they had no answer for me. And so I just kind of started singling out UFOs because nobody had any real substantial proof of Bigfoot, and that stands today. nobody has any real proof of a ghost or a goblin or fairies or any of that other kind of thing that they want to talk about. And now, when I say proof, the way I look at it is, if you have proof, it has to be good enough to go to court with and convince a jury that has nothing, they have no idea what you're talking about. And so to this very day, I have never seen any proof. Now, I see a lot of photos. We see them in MUFON all the time. And I think at the moment, MUFON is like about 20 or 35% unknowns. So that means that, are they extraterrestrial? No. It means that there's not enough there that we can identify what it is. And as much money as we are in the United States in debt, and I don't rule out the majority of this stuff that we see that we can't identify is our own equipment. You can't rule that out. And until the day someone lands out here and proves, and the aliens step out of this UFO or whatever, and aliens are proven, then and only then can we say this stuff is extraterrestrial. But I'm still curious about it, because one of these days we'll find out. But I was talking to my sister back in, I guess it was like 1991. She was asking me about some things, and I started mentioning about UFOs and stuff, and she says, you like UFOs, eh? And I said, sure. She said, well, you need to join MUFON. And I said, what's that? I had no idea. And she started explaining it to me. And she was friends with the Oklahoma State Director. I forget what his name is. It's been a long time ago. And so he sent me an application, and I send it off. I think back then the membership was like $25, I think, something like that. So I signed up for MUFON and started getting the monthly journal, and that was it. And that locked on for 6 months, 7 months, and I said, well, I think I'm going to be a field investigator. So when I re-upped the next year, I wrote on there I wanted to be a field investigator, and they said, well, you have to buy the field investigator's manual. I forget, it was like $45, something like that, and you got to take the test. I said, oh, okay. So the test came with the field investigator's manual at that time. It was like 100 questions. So open book test. I mean, it's really easy to do. So I passed the test, and now I'm a field investigator. Oh boy, I was feeling good, because hey, I get to go investigate cases. Well, a month went by, another month went by, another month goes by. I don't get anything. I don't hear anything. And about the time I was about ready to just toss it in, I got a letter in the mail inviting me to a MUFON meeting over here in I think it was Dallas at the time. So I went to this meeting, and all 5 of us were there, and I was the only field investigator. So that kind of showed me right away. That's why I wasn't getting any information, because about the time that I signed up and joined MUFON, the large group that was there at the time just basically got into a big fight, and they all went different directions. So we basically had to start over. And it took us years and years and years of hard work, and we finally got the DFW area MUFON group back together with a lot of people, like 60, 70 people. And it was pretty large, and it's pretty large still. But at the time, I was the only field investigator. So immediately I'm the chief investigator right off the bat, but we built that up, and that's how I got started in the MUFON.
Well, do you think that the field research is being forgotten? I mean, there's much more research on internet, on videos, than the field research itself.
Sorry about that. My alarm. That's a good question. And there's a lot of field research that I don't really classify as field research. I mean, you can go by, you've seen yourself the photos and the testimony that comes in. And what I do is when I go to investigate something, especially at someone's house, the first thing I'm going to do is look around and see if they have any UFO books that they're looking at and reading, because anybody that's read one or two books on UFOs can just have any kind of episode they want, and they make it up as they go. So you have to really watch what's going on, and you can get on Facebook, and there are UFO organizations out there that post up lens flares out at the wazoo and just photographs that are clouds and birds, and just the people that posting these things don't know exactly what they're doing, because they'd be able to identify this stuff. And whereas we at MUFON, we've been doing this forever. So we know by looking at a photo exactly what it is right off the bat. And that's what makes them mad. They don't like that at all. And then you have these outside people. I say people, but it's organizations and things. We ran into it when we were investigating Stephenville back in 2008. Right away, there was a small group that came from Japan, and they told some of the people there in the newspaper, that if MUFON was to take a video and say that is authentic, they would pay thousands of dollars per second for these videos. And that ruined it. I mean, we were looking at all kinds of things that weren't really anything but birds, airplanes, and just anything and everything. And they actually ruined it for us. So there are some really good people out there that are investigating, but for the most part, no, they're not. They need to be they ought to join MUFON and do what we do, and we have training, and whereas they do not. So it's out there, but it's not as good as I think it should be. That's just my own opinion.
Yeah, and the people get angry when we unveil the UFO as a reflection, as a bird, as dirt, and etc. People get angry because they want to believe that they saw something that it's unexplainable and is from other planet.
Yes.
And as you know, and as I know, when we answer an email, something in the MUFON CMS, and the person sends an email back, "You're wrong. I saw that. It's not a bird." Well, I'm telling you what I researched. I'm telling you that's a bird. No, it's not. It's not a bird. It happened the same in United States. It happened the same in the whole world, right?
Yes. Yes, I investigated things international just like I did in the United States, and it's the same type of photos. And here's the killer for me is they'll show you a photo, right? It's an object I saw, and they'll say that and the object. Well, okay, they'll say they didn't see this object until after they looked at the photo. Now their photo is centered up on what they were taking the photo of originally. And that's like it is with any photo that you're not going to take a photo of. What you're taking a picture of is going to be center of your view. The bird or object is always off to the left or off to the right, that kind of thing. And they only have one photo. Now, if they had seen this thing to begin with, I don't know about you and anybody else, but my little phone here, it will take 1,000 photographs in about 5 seconds if you hold the button down. So if I'm going to see a UFO, hey, we're going to have a bunch of photos to look at. And if somebody shows me just one photo, no, that's something that, no, it's just, no good.
That's true. That's true. Well, you are one of the original members of the MUFON STAR team. And you are one of the investigator in the case known as the Stephenville Lights.
Yes.
Could you tell us about this case and what the investigation concluded?
The investigator concluded that here's what a lot of people don't know. The Stephenville and Dublin area there are completely surrounded with military operating zones. The military from these airports out here, they go down there and do their simulated dog fights and whatever you want to call it. And they were viewing, and now they've seen things down there for the last, I don't know, 60 years. I mean, it's not something that was just new. They've always had objects down there they're looking at, and they always describe basically a large orange ball. That's what it's called, an orb, but it's actually just a ball. And during our investigations, we found out that there's, we said, well, that's probably flares. Well, we found out there's about 9,000 different types of flares that these jets can jettison out. So the majority of the stuff is their airplanes, they're fighting, and they're dropping their flares. But let's see, I'm trying to remember. Hold on a second. Well, I can't get it anyway. It's just up there hidden it. But anyway, there were 5 police officers in Stephenville. They weren't together. They were out surrounding downtown, and they saw this object fly over, and it was flying over real slow. And it's basically, I would think it would be the same one that Steve Allen saw, and as it flew over him, he's an airline pilot, and it flew over him and some people out at they were sitting in the yard. But this thing was a mile long and half a mile wide, and it had lights scattered around it. And I have a not a photo, but an artist's conception of it. It's around there somewhere. I should have got it out. But they saw this thing, and it flew over downtown Stephenville very slow, and then it was going like this, and then it did this, and then took off. And they remained, I want to say, secret, but they didn't talk about this for a long time, and they finally talked with Angela Joyner. And she was the reporter there that worked for the Stephenville Gazette. But she's no longer with us. She died recently from COVID. But they talked with her, and they didn't want their names released because they were afraid they'd get fired or something like that. So that's what we got from them. Now, we called that the Flying Walmart after that. And a few people have seen it, but not many. But what gets me is, here you have, let's just say it's extraterrestrial. Let's say that. Why would an extraterrestrial vehicle that large fly slowly over an area where we have fighter jets all over the place that could either shoot it down or damage it to where you can't get back home? So I think it might be our own material, and they know it's coming in, or they're commanded not to fire on it, that kind of a thing. And so that's kind of iffy for me about what that was and who it belonged to. But it doesn't mean that it comes from extraterrestrials just because we don't have it to fly around. I don't believe that. No, I don't really trust our government that much because we're too far in debt. And getting too far in debt, and the money's going somewhere. I always tell people, I said, how long did it take us? I always ask people, how long was mankind in an animal-drawn vehicle? And I want you to think about that for a minute and see if you can give me an answer.
Yeah, we still want an answer from a lot of things. Well, during your years as a Marine, have you, a Navy, yeah. Have you had any unusual experience? Did you saw something strange?
It's strange you should ask me like that because nobody else has. I remember the first time. Let's see, what year was this? It was like 1970, I believe. Let's see. Yeah, it was 1970 because it was wintertime. I went in '69, got on the ship. It was about 1970, winter of 1970. we were going to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, and we're going to stay down there for about 2 months. And I was on the fantail, which is the back of the ship. It was after sundown, and I was talking to the boatswain mate there that was back there sitting. We'd always go back there, smoke cigarettes, talk, stuff like that. And I was curious about being in the Bermuda Triangle, and because the Bermuda Triangle right there in the Atlantic, we were going from Norfolk, Virginia, down to Cuba, so we were going to go right through it at one point. And I was curious about it. He says, well, you pretty interested in the Bermuda Triangle? I said, oh, yeah, I'd love to see it when I get to it. He said, we're already in it. So that kind of shocked me right away. I got kind of scared immediately and kind of looked around, and nothing happened. But I don't know what year it was, but later on, one of the radar technicians was talking to me and telling me, he said, hey, did you hear about that event last night? And I said, no. And he says, at one point, the radar picked up a surface blip, coming up right behind the ship. And they said it was, they got back to the after lookout couldn't see anything. And you know, when you're in the ocean back and the moon's lit up, you can see pretty far. And there was nothing back there. And so our ship, we started changing directions left and right, and it was following us, whatever it was. And so they speed up, and the object would speed up, and we'd slow down, the object would slow down, and finally, after about an hour, we were doing this for about an hour. After about an hour, this thing turned to starboard, and then just took off, went over the horizon. It didn't fly up in the air. It was a surface type deal. So, but that's the only thing we ran into that I was told about. And it was invisible. You couldn't see it.
Well, it's amazing. But you talk about the Bermuda Triangle.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's something strange? Because when I visit Orlando and I flew over the Bermuda Triangle from Brazil, we take this route.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there's something strange there?
Well, they've had a lot of ships and airplanes both disappear in that area. So there has to be something going on, but what it is, I have no idea. No idea. No explanation. None at all.
Yeah, and we cannot say that's extraterrestrial. It's some anomaly, something like that.
Yeah, nobody knows exactly what it is.
Yeah, we're still looking for the answers again. Well, the Pentagon's report about the UAPs left many people frustrated.
Yeah.
Including me. But I am not that expectation because I knew that nothing big is going to come. But, well, anyway, I would like to know, how do you felt as a former military, former Navy,
mm-hmm.
and as ufologist? You have these two sides, as a military and a ufologist. How do you felt?
How do I tell what?
About the report, do you think that was frustrating, or do you expect that if you are a military, well, this report, it's okay?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying now. I tell you what, anybody that has been in the military, and comes out and says that, and they start giving out basically secret information, I have a problem with that. I don't like that at all, because secret information is just that, secret, and it's secret for a reason. And so I'm not going to say I have any, but I'm not going to say I don't. But you're not going to hear anything from me about what's going on in the government and what this is that and that's this. No, I'm not going to do that. And anybody that gives up secrets, I don't like that at all, period. I just don't like it. Hope that answers the question.
Yeah. Louis Elizondo.
Yeah.
Who is he? Is an agent of disinformation? Is a person who really wants the truth? Is a person that wants to get some money? In your opinion, who is he?
Okay, this is my opinion, not MUFON's or anybody else, but I think he's a fraud. He's in it for money. He's jumping around from organization to organization, and evidently he's not getting what he wants because he'll stop this and do that. And so far, he hasn't given up any information that is new or hasn't already been out there. So as far as I'm concerned, the guy's a waste of time, but that's just my opinion.
Well, I share the same opinion as you. My opinion, not MUFON, my opinion.
Yes.
Not as a national director of MUFON in Brazil. It's my opinion as THIAGO TICCHETTI. Okay. Well, still talking about the disclosure.
Right.
Do you believe that there will be a full disclosure, a great opening of the let's say the United States of America UFO archives? Do you think they're gonna have this from now to the past, and from now from the present, from the future? Do you think they're gonna have this disclosure, full disclosure?
Okay, now full disclosure to me and you is not what regular people would say is full disclosure. I mean, the government is not going to give out anything much more than they already have. They're just not going to do it. There's too many secret things that we have in our government that are just, I don't know, I could probably guess it 100 years ahead of time that we don't know about. And they're not going to give that up because there's it's like, okay, here we go. In back in 19, I think it was 1970, 75 or 80, they were claiming that in the year 2000 we'd have flying cars. Okay, well, I don't see any flying cars yet. So they may have them right now, as far as I'm concerned, but we don't see them. And any of this fantastic stuff that they're talking about, they're not going to put it out to us because we're paying too many taxes on what we have now with the gas cars. And they're not going to get rid of gasoline and do electric cars. They might try to do some of it and make a little bit of money off of it, but the electric grid can't sustain 20 million cars plugged into it at one time. I say, people work during the day, most of us, and we drive our cars home and plug them in. And my electric company tells me that if 4 electric cars plug in my block, it's going to shut down the electric grid on our area. So the electric grid can't sustain electric cars, not yet, much less ones that fly. So any of this fancy stuff, and we're not going to know about it. They might come out with something and disclose something they may be working on. But no, big, large disclosure, no. They're not going to say anything like that. And as far as, yes, there's aliens, no, we're not going to know about that either, because if it was announced that there are extraterrestrials, I would suspect that 40% of religious people would jump off the mountain somewhere because God doesn't exist, and why am I doing all of this? And so it's just too dangerous for religious people, and that may be why they're trying to take God out of everything to get rid of the religion. But why disclose right now anyway? It's not going to help us do anything. So I don't know. I have no idea. I just don't expect anything, period.
You're too skeptical, Steve. I like it because I think it's almost the same. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna have the full disclosure, because if you have the full disclosure, they have to go to the past, and if they go to the past, they will confirm they were lying.
Yeah.
To presidents, to people, to press, to agencies. Well, and now we are talking about presidents of the United States. Why, in your opinion?
The United States?
Yeah, why, in your opinion, have several U.S. presidential candidates promised they would open all the information about the UFOs, and when they get to the White House, they forget their promise, or they never got this information. They think that the president are debriefed about what happened in ufology research by the military. So let's not tell them what's going on.
Mm-hmm. That's a good question, and that's they believe that John F. Kennedy was killed because he was about to explain some of that UFO things to the public. So they couldn't shut him up, so they killed him. This is just what's kind of going around, and I don't rule that out. But some of the other presidents have actually had UFO sightings themselves, and when they get to the presidential level, you don't hear anything about it like you're talking about. And the reason is because someone tells them not to. So you have to sit there and ask yourself, well, who is the somebody? And it's probably what I keep hearing is the industrial military complex. And they're really the ones that are holding on. This as well. No, you can't say anything because the public is not ready for it. And I believe that 100%. Like I said, if religious people found out God does not exist, that are all extraterrestrials on planet Nibiru, they're going to start committing suicide and then running out with guns and killing people that they hate because they're not going to go anywhere. Hey, we're not going to go to hell. So that's one thing to keep to think about. It's kind of funny to think about it, but I think they're told not to. Of course, Trump came out and started this Space Force, and that was like out of the blue. What Space Force for what? A couple of Sputniks that flying around the Earth, go to the moon once in a while, and half the people think they never went. And then he's got this like a disclosure thing you're talking about that he's supposed to be supposed to have had put into the mix, and they've already delayed that for whatever reasons. And they have the COVID-19 thing now that's flying around all over the place. And boy, our president nowadays is really trying to put the ramrod on everybody with that. And I just think it's all a big, I don't know. I don't want to say fake because people are dying from it, but I think they're just taking something and using it to do what things that they want to do, like pass this $5 trillion checkbook is going to really ruin things. But there are outside influences that keep everything down to a minimum. And you have to ask yourself, well, why is that? Why is it that? I mean, I'm not going to kill myself if there's extraterrestrials somewhere. I might want to talk with them for a little while. But then after that, I'm going to be wanting a spaceship. I want to be flying around like they do. And then when I think about that, I go back to what I always go back to. I said, us compared to them, we're the planet of the apes. And it's kind of funny. I'll tell people that, and I'll say, what do you mean planet of the apes? And I said, well, it's like you go to the zoo and you take the car keys to your car and you throw them over in the monkey cage to help them out because they're so, they can't do anything. They're just running around squealing. I said, or you fall down on an ant bed and you try to communicate with these ants, and all they're going to do is sting you to death because they see you as a enemy or whatever. I said, there's no communication with either. And it's like it with us. There's no real communication, and we wouldn't last very long with their technology because we're not ready for it. We're still on gas cars and going to work every day, getting out there, pulling apples off the tree to eat. And so, we're not ready for it. And I understand that, and everybody else ought to understand it. So until we can stop war on the planet of the Earth and everybody become equal without being mad at each other, we don't need to be going out in space. And that's just the way I feel about it.
true. It's not, you're not lying. It's true. It's true. Well, you mentioned it earlier, but if you had to go before a judge, a grand jury, to prove to this judge that we are being visited by extraterrestrial beings, which case would you report?
Oh, there aren't any cases. We have no cases that, with my opinion, that would win in a court of law. None. Because you don't have any evidence. There's no evidence. I mean, like a piece of metal. We don't have a piece of metal. How about a video of an alien? Hey, good. That's easy to fake those. I see them all the time. Let's take Bigfoot. How about Bigfoot? He's supposed to have been here. He's on planet Earth with us, and the videos I have seen are like a video of something walking a mile away. Okay, if I was going to make a good comparison, what I'd want to do is send someone down there to that mile away point and walk in the same spot where this thing was for a height requirement check to see which one how tall that thing was. Was it a man or whatever? It's I saw it. It's kind of funny. I saw this couple of photos of people out camping, and this guy was in the floorboard of his car. He was scared because Bigfoot was on the outside of his car, and he's got some pictures. And the pictures that he had were the Bigfoot was in the front of his car, and it was peeking over the hood of his car. All you could see was like this much of the Bigfoot. You couldn't see nothing down here, and it was looking at him. So I'm sitting there going to myself, I said, well, this Bigfoot's supposed to be about 8 feet tall. Why is he crouching down and doing a Kilroy peek over of that guy above the hood of his car? And then to top it off, really, for me, that really did it good for me was they took a picture of because Bigfoot had walked around the car, the edge of the car, and smeared his, I don't know, mucus or whatever out of his nose and his mouth all over the window, right? It's all over the window. He's got pictures of it. And I said, did you get a DNA sample of that? No, we went to the car wash and washed it off. What's up with that? And Bigfoot tracks. You see plenty of concrete little footprints of Bigfoot tracks. So I can make them too. Matter of fact, we did in high school. And went down to these areas and we made our own footprints with big old feet like that. So that's not, you get that, and that's nothing. There's no proof. And photos of ghosts, anybody can make a photo of a ghost, and it's simple to do. So there's nothing out there to prove anything in a court of law, period.
Even a radar screenshot that shows an object flying 0 to 3,000 kilometers per hour in 2 seconds, it won't be evidence.
That would be an unknown.
A UFO.
It'd be a UFO, an unknown UFO. Now, whose is it? I don't know.
We're looking for.
It could be ours. I mean, we're in debt right now. America's in debt right now for about, I don't know, $26 trillion. Where'd that money go? I didn't see any of it. So, yeah, you can't rule it out. You can't rule us out, period. Oh, here we go. How long was the man in the animal-drawn vehicle? Give me an answer. You can ask other people this. How many years? How long was it? An animal-drawn vehicle.
Oh, I don't know.
2,500 years.
2,500 years.
About 2,500 years. Okay, man stepped off the animal-drawn vehicle and onto the moon. How many years was that?
40 years.
About a good 50 years. 40, 50 years. Wasn't long at all. Okay, now why is it that from then, the time we stepped off the animal-drawn vehicle, and of course they started making cars, it's been 121 years, and I'm still getting 21 miles to the gallon in my car. What's up with that? We go to the moon in 50 years, but we sure can't make the gas mileage any better. So 20-something trillion dollars went somewhere. It may be those fast vehicles we're seeing flying around in radar.
And well, let's see if I can think right. This excuse, let's say this excuse to the military that say, well, that thing, yeah, it's a UFO, we don't know, could be a perfect disguise to their secret airplanes, right?
Yes. Yes, could be a yes, it's the airplane disguised, yes. And they don't have to worry about shooting it down because they're too fast, you can't do anything with it. And I've always said that any alien, an alien group, people, whatever you want to call them, that's going to be here on planet Earth looking at us, they're going to be invisible. Because, again, we're the planet of the apes. We know how to shoot and throw rocks. So, you know, they don't want to get damaged. They're going to be invisible. They're not going to be able to see us. No, we're not going to be able to see them. And as far as abductions go, there could be something to that, because that might be one of the first things that we'd want to do is go abduct them, check them out, that kind of thing. So I don't really rule that out. But here again, people that are being abducted all the time on a regular basis, why don't they put cameras in their house and film this? I have 4 cameras around my house and that film constantly. And, you know, what's up with that? I mean, if an alien is abducting you and doing things, you know, get it substantiated. Don't just sit there and talk about it. I mean, you know, hey, what's up with that? And I don't buy the deal about, well, I can't afford one, or no, I don't want to do that, or the aliens told me not to. I don't believe any of that kind of thing. And that's something else that bothers me. Some of these aliens are called Pleiadians. Okay, just use them for an example. I always ask, how long have you been talking to these people? Oh, a long time. I said, well, why haven't they corrected you? And they go, what do you mean? I said, you're calling them a Pleiadian. Yeah. I said, we named that system Pleiades. They didn't. How come they don't correct you and tell you what their real name is? So they don't have an answer for me, and they block me on Facebook. So there we are.
Oh God, I never thought that. It's amazing. Yeah, you're correct. We name it Pleiades. Yeah,
we did. We named all these places.
Great. We name it. The gray as a gray.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Well, what's the biggest difficulty that ufology faces nowadays to be taken seriously by science and the governments?
Well, the only thing the government wants to do is find out what you know. And then if you know anything that's too much, they're gonna come in and say, no, this didn't happen. And they're going to basically break in your house and get any kind of records that you have. I've heard of that take place. Science is they're not going to worry about us or anything because we don't have any evidence. You have to have evidence for science. And until someone gets some of that, well, then nobody's curious. The scientists, anyway, as I have seen or figured out, is the only time they get any kind of evidence or anything like that, the government is giving it to them so they can bust it down and see what it is and look at it. So nothing like that's going to come from us. And investigators have asked me, they say, hey, what about if we come up on a crash and we get our radiation detectors out and we detect radiation? How are we going to package that up and send it in for investigation to be analyzed? I said, if you are at a crash site or anything and you have a radiation detector and you're getting radiation, I said, you turn around and you leave and you call the fire department, because you cannot transport radiation. If you try to mail it, they have indicators in these post offices that's going to nail any kind of radiation that's in there, and then you'll be in trouble. So no, we do not gather radiation. So anyway, last I heard, UFOs were powered by magnetic and gravitational. It had nothing to do with radiation. So there again, we got our own equipment that we're looking at. So science and government, no help.
Well, when you started ufology 30 years ago,
Yeah.
Did you believe that currently, let's say in the past, 30 years ago, when you were 30 years ago, and you see 2021,
Mm-hmm.
did you believe that we would have had contact with beings from other planets 30 years in the future from the 90s?
Oh, you think like they're time travelers?
Something like that.
I don't know. I would think it'd be very dangerous for someone to go back into time from the future, because the slightest change would alter any kind of thing that's happening in the future. Like they could come down here and maybe my dad was a truck driver. Maybe they could cause him to go off the road and he dies, and all of a sudden I'm not born, and there may be a year from now I might discover something that's very important for them, and if I'm dead, they can't get it. So I don't like the idea of time travelers coming from the future. I just no, I don't really put a lot of stock into that. No.
Brazilians have a great curiosity. The history series Hangar 1 shows MUFON cases.
Yeah.
And it shows an hangar. Does MUFON hangar exist?
I don't understand your question.
In the series of the History Channel shows a MUFON and the cases, and the show shows a hangar. And yes.
Oh yeah, that exists.
I don't know if they exist, the hangar 1.
Well, I don't know if it's hangar 1 or not, but yes, that hangar exists. I've been there. It's up in Dave McDonald's. Dave McDonald has an airport up there that he works out of, and that hangar is there pretty close. Yeah.
I think that place is amazing. Well, my friend, finally, the last question.
Okay.
How to make ufology great again?
Now I have a hat that says that. How do you make it great again? You be more serious in your investigations, and well, of course, most of them are just identifiable really quick, but stay firm and do your homework, and take everything seriously, and don't try to run out and write a book. I mean, I see a lot of people, I wrote a book. Oh, that's well, big deal. That just means that you took the information that you got and you wrote a book, and one UFO book's just like another UFO book. So I just kind of laugh at that. But take your investigations very serious, and make notes. And it's not going to really get any more serious with the majority of people than it already is, because people like us, when we say, well, no, that was a bird, no, that was a lens flare, well, it's like you said earlier, they're going to get mad because they don't have the Holy Grail, and they didn't have really what they thought they had. And so a lot of those people are going to talk to their friends, and that's why MUFON gets a bad rap as we are getting now, is because we're called debunkers, and I really don't like that word. I think explainers is a better word than debunkers, and that's just something we have to live with. I'm sorry, we just have to live with it.
Well, my friend, I like to thank you very much for your time.
Mm-hmm.
I really like it because it shows you show a side of ufology that we're not used to. We
Right.
always get people said, "Oh yeah, this case is real," and you said, "What do you think?" And you were very skeptical. And for me, ufologists must be skeptical first of all.
Yes.
The first thing must be, because you cannot simply believe in everything that came to you. You have to think, you have to research, you have to look for it. So I think you gave us a lesson, and I thank you very much. I thank you very much for the time and this opportunity.
Very good. I'm glad to be here with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Então, pessoal, espero que vocês tenham gostado dessa entrevista com o Steve. Assim como ele, eu tenho dezenas de outras entrevistas com os maiores ufólogos do mundo, com personalidade da ufologia nacional e internacional. Isso tudo você só encontra aqui no canal Desvendando Mistérios. Dê o seu like, comente, marque o sininho, se inscreva no canal, para que sempre eu possa trazer para você o melhor da ufologia mundial. Então é isso, um abraço e até o próximo vídeo.